el chat y otras formas nuevas de comunicación. Me han pedido un nuevo reto y voy a intentarlo. Voy a leeros los siguientes capítulos en los idiomas que me pidáis, dentro de un límite, ¿eh? Chapter 18.
The man who wrote from the transformer room. In those early years of the internet, when chat rooms were an improvised refuge for people who needed a space where no one demanded anything from them, a man appeared using a nickname that caught my attention from the very beginning: Transformer. It wasn't poetic or mysterious, it was literal. He could only write from the room where the building's electrical transformers were kept, a hot, vibrating space with a low hum that seemed to travel through the floor. The first night he entered with a brief greeting. Evening, he wrote, but there was something in that word that didn't sound like a greeting but like exhaustion. I replied, and he took a moment to answer, sorry, I'm going down to the transformer room.
I can talk upstairs. That's when I understood he wasn't alone. He was trapped in a house where he didn't have a single corner of his own. He told me he lived with his partner, his two small children, and his younger brother, who had been unemployed for months and occupied the house as if it were his. The house is constant noise, he wrote. I don't have a place to think. I adopted the role he needed. Someone who wouldn't judge him, who wouldn't tell him he had to endure, who wouldn't lecture him about family. Just someone who would listen. Every night he logged in at the same time, always from the same transformer room, with the electric hum filling the silence and his phone in his hand, as if it were a window to another world. Sometimes the connection dropped, sometimes he disappeared. Sometimes he returned with, sorry, I heard footsteps on the stairs. For weeks we talked about everything. His exhaustion, his frustration, the feeling that his life had become a space too small for him. One night he arrived especially defeated. He'd had an exhausting day. The kids hadn't stopped, his brother had argued with him, and his partner was so tired she barely spoke. I feel like I don't exist, he wrote. I'm just someone who holds things together. That sentence hurt, not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. I didn't try to cheer him up with empty phrases. I simply said, I'm reading you, and he continued. He told me he had spent months feeling invisible, that no one saw him, that no one listened, that no one asked how he was. Sometimes I feel like if I disappeared for an entire day, no one would notice, he wrote. People only remember me when something's missing. Weeks passed like that, with him entering every night from the transformer room, looking for a place where he could exist without noise, without demands, without interruptions. He didn't ask for advice, he didn't ask for solutions, he just needed a place where he could say what he couldn't say at home. I'm tired. One night, however, he arrived different, more grounded, clearer. He told me he had made a decision, not an impulsive one, not dramatic, not dangerous, a decision of his own. I talked to her, he wrote. I told her I need a space, a moment for myself, a time each day when I'm not just a father or a brother or support. He told me she had listened, that she hadn't judged him, that she hadn't stopped him, that for the first time in a long while, someone in his house had looked at him without expectations. She said she'll try, he wrote. She didn't know I was doing so badly. She thought I could handle everything. That night we talked for a long time, not about his house or his family or his exhaustion. We talked about him, about what he wanted to recover, about what he had left behind, about what he could still build. And for the first time since I met him, I noticed something new in his words: relief. Before saying goodbye, he told me something I still remember clearly. Thank you for being my transformer room for weeks. I didn't need you to fix my life, I just needed a place where I could exist without feeling like a shadow. After that, our conversations became less frequent. Not because he drifted away, but because he no longer needed that corner to breathe. And although it made me nostalgic, it also filled me with enormous joy of all the cases I lived through in those years,
The one of the man who wrote from the transformer room was one of the ones that taught me the most.
It reminded me that sometimes life doesn't give you space to breathe, and that it's enough for someone on the other side of a screen to say, "I see you," for you to start recovering the air you thought you had lost. And it also taught me that even the noisiest places, a transformer room, a gas room, a fire extinguisher room, a laundry room, can become refuges when life becomes too heavy, that it doesn't matter where you are as long as there is someone willing to listen without asking for anything in return, and that sometimes the only thing a person needs to feel alive again is a low hum, a deep silence, and the certainty that even if only for a few minutes they can be themselves without fear of disappearing.